Hi all, welcome to this Logic App Learning video series. In this video, I'm going to explain how you can run and develop your Logic apps in a Visual Studio Code and deploy it in a Docker environment. For that, you need to have Docker Desktop. Also, you should have a Visual Studio Code with Logic App extensions and functions and prerequisites. Now I have a normal workflow, a simpler one which will look like this one. So there is a component which receives the HTTP request and it forwards it to a compose component. This compose component will create a JSON structure with the body and param. This body is nothing but the HTTP request. Param is coming from the parameter URL, parameter.json file. So once it's the compose component will send the message to this send message is nothing but it will send a message to a queue to service bus queue. For that we configured an queue name and the content which is coming from the compose component. Also we have a chain connection, so this connection is configured in the connections.json file. Once you add this action to the workflow, this connections.json file will be created automatically. So it will look like this one, and it has a dynamic property app settings. This will be configured in a local.settings.json file, which for local purpose. If it is for Docker, then you need to have it in an environment variable like this. So you should put them in the environment variable so that it will be accessible to the while running the container, while the pod is trying to run the container. So going back to the this one. So we have shown it here how we can see the access the app setting and the parameter. The parameters are residing in the parameter file. This will be copied over to the container and it will be accessible. So now, in order to make sure, in order to run this program in the Docker environment, you need to add a Docker file, which is very simple. Where this is nothing but you're adding Azure Functions Runtime to your container environment, and these are the environment variables that you're adding. If you see, it is an environment. Env is a keyword, key and valuable. So here I have added few key things. One is a web storage. This storage is used to store the host.json file that will contain a master key in order to get the HTTP trigger URL. If you run it in the local, then you will get the trigger URL by clicking right click and see the overview. You will get the trigger URL. But in the Docker file, this is a two-step process where you need to get this first you need to pass the master key and get the trigger URL, and that is the actual URL you'll make a HTTP call, right? And another important thing is this is a service bus connection string. This is where in this workflow specific. This job storage thing you should have it for all workflows, and this is a workflow specific where you will send a message to this uh, queue for a reliability purpose. So this instrumentation key is nothing for app insight purpose, where for monitoring logic apps you will use app insights that I will explain you in the different one. And this is a significant important one, website site name. When you have three or four parts running, all should have pointing to one single, all should be accessible using one single master key. For that, this ensures that so it's important to set this up. If you don't set it up, there will be some strange grid will be created in so that your all parts will be creating their own. So that is a chaos. Okay, now we have this Docker file. Let's create a Docker image and let's run it. So before that, I'll make sure that I have cleared all the previous ones. Now I'm going back and create the new one. Okay, first build it, then run it. Build. In order to build it, open the terminal, build it. Once the build is successful in the Docker, you'll be seeing that. So this is the one. Let's refresh it and see. Let me close it. See the images. Let's delete this guy and build it again. Now it's created. So it's appearing now. Now go back to this one and create, run this image so that you will see it in the container page. Going back to the terminal. It. It'll take a while in order to run this and host it in a local Docker in image. Once that is done, you'll be seeing a full app running here. So this is the log page in the Docker desktop. You can get access to the CLI bash image bash command prompt. Here you can see the files you build it in the Visual Studio Code. So for that, I'm going as per the. So this is the copy command which we have done. So that I'm using that, and yeah, so I'm in. Let's see. Okay, these are the files. I listed this local.settings.json file. You can exclude it while building it. Apart from that, we have a parameter file. As I said, we'll have parameters that JSON file where I have the queue name, and the connections one will have the, let's see, the env environment variables. So these are the environment variables set for this workflow. Azure Web Storage is the one in order to keep the host.json file. Service bus connection string is specific to this workflow, and that's it. So we have got everything here, and by the time this is also got successful, let's go back to the workflow and try to make a call. So go to the Postman now. eh, this is listening into local 8080, but first you need to get step number one is get the localhost 8080, get the trigger URL, right? So it's saying 401 because we have not changed this. Go to Storage Explorer and drill down to the queue you have mentioned, storage account. That one you will have a folder, and so if you see with the name of the website name, there will be a one account will be created. So which is this one, service bus Sparani bus one. So there is a host.json file. Open it. Okay, use this one, and so we got the actual API URL. Get same port for posting. Change the body, JSON body. Okay, let JSON. It goes to the. Okay, here you go. We got the successful. This body what we have sent, the HTTP request is here as part of the result. Also the param which is coming from the. This is coming from the compose component. Now we go back to the queue and see whether this is received. Refresh it. You should see one message. Yeah, we are seeing it. Using MQ is for reliability over HTTP. So this is what we have sent it, and we got it in the MQ. So using it in a using deploying your logic app and creating it in local, the same logic app you will be able to deploy it in Azure or in a Kubernetes service. So it is important to test it once in your local, then push it into using CI/CD or use a manual deployment and see if that works. I hope this video helped you. Thank you very much.